everyone, I'm Rachel, and I'm very happy to welcome you to this virtual experience with Oceanogràfic in Valencia. This is part of Spain Awakens, the Tiqets Awakening Week series, which is a 6-week celebration of the reopening of 100+ museums and attractions in 6 countries around the world. These venues have worked around the clock to make it safe to visit again, and now they're rolling out the welcome mat with these online experiences so that everyone can join in and reawaken these cultural institutions worldwide. This virtual experience will start in just a minute, but as people are still joining us, I'll kick off by sharing some logistical information about what to expect and how to use Zoom. First of all, if you have any questions for the presenter, please submit them through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. There'll be a Q&A at the end of the presentation, so feel free to send through those questions and we'll try to answer as many as possible. You can also vote on your favorite questions in the Q&A so that we're sure to answer the best questions first. Please note this is a Zoom webinar, so your camera won't be on, but you can use the chat to communicate with fellow attendees and the speakers. You can do that by saying to not just all panelists, but all panelists and attendees in the chat, and then everyone will be able to see your comments and you'll be able to chat with them. And finally, this presentation will be recorded and we'll be sending it out to you in the coming weeks so you can share it with all your friends and re-experience the visit. So with all the logistical information out of the way, now it's time for the fun part to begin. I'm happy to hand it over to our hosts, Christine and Melania, who will transport us all to Oceanogràfic. So you guys can take it away.
Hello, welcome. Welcome everybody, welcome to Oceanogràfic of Valencia, the biggest aquarium here in Europe. My name is Melania.
I'm Christine, and we wanted to welcome you. We wanted to thank Rachel and Tiqets for this opportunity, and we hope that we can show you a little bit of what we have here and around. Right now we're right in front of the pelicans, and we're going to give you a little glimpse of the few habitats we have. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time. It will take around 4 hours minimum to visit all the things that we have to see, but we hope that you can get a little taste of what we have and then you can enjoy it. As Melania said, we are the biggest aquarium in Europe. We're the only one that has belugas. We have more than 150 species and individuals, and that means that we have more than 600 species. So let's go and see what we have around. So here's a little video that will give you a glimpse of what you can see here in the Oceanogràfic.
We hope that you have enjoyed this fantastic video, and now we are in a very special place here in the Oceanographic. It's our rehabilitation sea turtle area.
So as you can see in the water, we have a bunch of little turtles. In the world, there are 7 different species of turtles that live in most of the oceans. And here we have little babies that were born just a year ago. And why they are here? Well, because the Oceanographic leads the recovery and reintroduction of turtles in the region here in Valencia. And basically these little turtles that we see here were gathered a year ago when they were just little eggs. And what we did was relocate those nests of the turtles into new beaches so they would have a better chance of surviving. And from all the eggs that were laid, there were over 100 eggs, we took 20 eggs and we brought them here so we could incubate them and give the turtles their best chance of survival. 1 of every 1,000 turtles wouldn't make it through the first year of their life. So here we're skipping that phase and we're giving them a head start and a better chance of survival. So these turtles are here now, but pretty soon they'll be back in the ocean where they belong.
Many years ago, Oceanographic Foundation saw the necessity to create a hospital and to create a conservation and rehabilitation project. With this really great project, we already rehabilitate and release into the sea 539 sea turtles. So it's pretty awesome.
And basically what we do here is not only help these turtles to recover, so we get turtles that get hit by boats or that have eaten plastic or get injured somehow. We help them to get better, and once they are better, we take them back to the ocean. Most of the turtles that come here actually have plastic in their digestive system, have eaten plastic. So we try to remind people or try to use this little area as a way to create or educate people or try to show them all the threats that these animals have. And that way, we can help these turtles have a better chance. So the turtles that get here that are sick, once they're better, they go back to the ocean. As Melanie already said, we have more than 539 turtles that have been taken back to the water. And the Oceanographic also takes the chance of having these turtles to learn more from them. So we actually have many different research projects that are carried on by our team of veterinaries and scientists to help them learn more about these little animals. For example, we learn more about the way they swim, so we can attach little cameras on the top of their shell, and that way we can record what they do all day and we know a better glimpse about their behavior. Also, we tag all the turtles that we have, and once they go back to the ocean, if somebody finds these turtles somewhere else in the world, with that little tag, we will know that it's the same individual that has traveled from here, from Valencia, all the way to Africa or America or somewhere else in the Mediterranean. So these projects are very good, not only because we help the animals to get better, but we also help to teach people how we can help to conserve and protect the species. And also because we learn more about them, and learning more about them means that we can protect them and help them a little bit more. So let's go and move a little bit on so we can go and visit another area here in the Oceanographic.
As Christine said, it's really important for us that the people know what is happening with these marine reptiles, with plastic pollution, with noise pollution. So we give them a lot of information and they can help us too. Because if you found a sea turtle in troubles, injured, or in our beaches, you have to phone the 112, is the emergency number. But we prepare a video for you to understand better what is happening here and how we can do all this project every day. So watch the next video.
¿Sí? ¿Un aviso? Perfecto, ¿dónde? Vale, pues nos ponemos en marcha. Yo contacto con el pescador y enseguida vamos para allá. Luego te informo. Venga, un abrazo, gracias.
Well, so now we are in one of the most famous facilities here in the oceanography between our guests. Is the ocean. Here we are underwater in this magnificent tunnel, and we have all these animals around, but the most important, we have sharks here.
So this entire aquarium has 70 meters long, 30 meters wide, and it's 6 meters deep. And we have a bunch of different species. We have more than 1,000 different animals and more than 40 different species. And the awesome thing about the aquarium is that underneath this tunnel, you can walk around and then you have different animals swimming on top of you. So you're never going to get this closer unless you go diving with these kind of animals. Here we have sharks, we have rays, we have other fish. Right here, for example, if you take a look, we're very lucky because we can see our zebra shark just resting in the bottom in the sand. And we also can see that we get pretty close to these animals. The awesome part about this tunnel is that it's really useful to learn more about these animals. For example, we can learn to tell apart a male from a female. So just by looking at the fins of the animals, we can tell apart which is a male and which is a female. So let's move around and see if we can find one of those sharks or rays swimming around, and we can learn how to tell them apart.
This facility is really cool because it's a multi-species facility. We can find sharks, rays, but also turtles, like this big green turtle. We are helping this little guy to eat properly because green turtles eat algae They are vegetarian, and he has some problem with his diet. So here the aquariums are helping these animals to eat crocodile.
So let's keep walking and see that we have all these animals swimming around. That you see, we have a rain or a shark nearby. So for example, here we have a sandbar shark. This is not the biggest shark that we have, but it's probably the most active shark. And they're pretty small, but they're really active compared to other animals or other species like the sand tiger shark. This is the biggest shark that we have here in the Oceanographic. They can get over 2 meters long, and even though they look pretty big, they're pretty calm. They tend to swim near the surface. And the awesome thing about these sharks is that to control their buoyancy, for example, what they do is they go near the surface and they swallow air. So they put air in their stomachs, and this air will help them to control their buoyancy.
I don't know if you pay attention to these sand tiger sharks, but they have many rows of teeth because they are big predators. So when one tooth disappears, another is ready to show up. So if we break this balance, the shark disappear, we will break the balance, the natural balance in the ecosystem. So they are very, very important for our ocean.
Yes, for example, every minute 180 sharks die in the world compared to 5 humans that accidentally have encounters with sharks. Right here you can see all the rows of teeth. And if you pay attention, you can see that they have some fins down here, right before their caudal part. If you look at the fins, if you only see fins, that means that this shark is a female. So right now we know that this sand tiger shark is a female compared to males that right between their fins, they will have 2 little sort of fingers that look like little sticks. Those little sticks are called claspers, they're called claspers, and they're used to reproduce. And how do sharks reproduce? Well, why do they have 2 little claspers? Basically, what sharks do to reproduce is that the male will hold onto the female through their pectoral fin, and then they'll use the clasper on that side to disseminate them. So that's why they have 2 instead of 1, like many other animals. Here at the bottom, we have one leopard ray. And ray compared to shark, the rays have their mouth right underneath their body. They have their mouth on their belly, like the one that's swimming next to the ray. That's a ball mouth ray. And that means that they're benthic animals. So they have the mouth on their belly and they feed from the bottom. Also, this would mean that instead of having sharp teeth to catch fish like sharks do, the rays have teeth that are like little plates that help them to crush the food that they find in the bottom of the ocean.
I don't know for you, Christine, but for me, the sandbar shark are really cool. Look the skin, look this gray skin. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to speak about all the species that we have here. As Christine said, here we have more than 40 different species. So we let you with the next video. So pay attention to the next video to know more about sharks.
So right now we are again at the surface. Right here on our right side, we have actually the crocodiles. We have two crocodiles right there at the end on that little island. They're probably the most elusive animal we have, and probably the hardest one to see. And this is because crocodiles are reptiles, which means that they cannot regulate their body temperature. So they depend on other things like the temperature of the water, the sunshine, and so on. So here in Valencia, even though we have a lot of sunshine, and summertime is really hot, for example, today, and then in winter time it's very cold for them. So usually they tend to be in the water where the temperature is more average and more normal. So that helps them to have the right sort of temperatures.
But what do you think if we leave the crocodiles here under this fantastic sunny weather and we go there inside, we go to the Arctic, much colder? Join us to know our Beluga family.
So now you can see our little Arctic facility. From the outside, it's actually an igloo. The igloos that the Eskimo use to find shelter, or they build themselves to find shelter. And basically, just by looking at it, you can picture or imagine how cold we're going to be inside. And this is because the belugas are animals that live in the North Pole, in the Arctic. So right now, we're going to change from maybe 27 degrees Celsius. We're going to go inside and be around 18 degrees Celsius. So usually we actually put some jackets on to feel a little bit warmer. And let's see what we can find here.
Are you ready? Come with us, please. So yes, it's much colder here. The water temperature is around 10, 12 degrees right now. But as Kristen said, the atmosphere is colder than outside.
Right here we have two different animals. Over there we have a forest, a cold forest, and right here we have our beluga family. So let's get closer to see if we can actually find them or see them from the surface. The awesome thing about this facility is that we can see the animals from top, from the surface, from out of the water, but also we can go downstairs and see them as if we were underwater swimming with them.
We are the first aquarium in Europe to launch belugas. And as Kristen said, we have a family with 3 members here. Our dad, Cairo, our mom, Yulka, and finally we have our little baby, Kilo. So maybe come with us and we can see them better from here. They are swimming around.
So when the Oceanographic started, we only had 2 belugas here, part of our family. But we're lucky enough because over the years, we made this little family grow, and we actually had a baby almost 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago. And now we're gonna show you how our little family became a little bit bigger. So here's a video for you to watch. you can see all these really long algae, and in the water we have crabs, we have also eels and other fish, and we also have two seals swimming in the water. These seals are actually very old. Seals live around 25 to 30 years. These seals here are very old. They now have around 40 years, which means that we just help them to find a better place to live. So right now we're not with many other seals, and they have a little habitat that is way more enriching for them because it's a multi-species habitat with all sort of animals, which is stimulating, but also quite enough for them to enjoy these days of our lives. So now we're gonna move to this side, and keep in mind that video that you saw, that little baby that was really gray and really small, and think about that now we are almost 4 years after that video or that birth happened. And so let's see and meet our little family of Beluga.
Yes, because we are almost at the end of this virtual tour, but we have a really special gift for all of you. We have here close to us our Beluga family, and we want to introduce them to you.
And we wanted to tell you that this is only possible because of the help of our trainers here in the Oceanogràfic and that amazing relationship, as you can see, that they have with these animals. This one here, it's Kilo, the baby that you saw in the video. Well, 4 years later, he is almost the same size of his mother. And you can see that he's not as gray anymore, but he's still darker than his mother, who is Yulka. Yulka is right here. Yulka is 24 years old. Kilo is going to turn 4 in November. Yeah. Beluga, as you saw in the video, when they are born, they are dark gray. And as they grow older, they sort of peel off, they change skin, and they get lighter and lighter with time. So the older a beluga gets, the whiter it is going to get. And these color differences are really useful if you want to learn how to tell them apart. Apart from Yurka and Ilu, we also have Kaido, who is the father, and he's slightly bigger. He's slightly bigger because with belugas, we have something called sexual dimorphism, which means that males and females, when they're adults, they're not exactly the same. Males tend to be a little bit fatter, a little bit bigger, and also a little bit longer. As you can see, Yulka, it's sort of pretty chubby. This is because belugas have around 40% of body fat. As we said before, the water in the Arctic is really, really cold. And all these fats help them to store that energy and keep themselves warm.
If you pay attention, you can see that belugas have no dorsal fins because they live in the North Pole and the surface of the water is covered of ice. So it's not very useful to have this dorsal fin when they swim under the ice, even if they are really related with dolphins.
As you can see, belugas have a tiny hole on the top of their head. That's where they breathe from. And that is why every once in a while they need to pop to the surface to be able to breathe. Right now you're seeing Yurka, and she has her head out of the water. And belugas are really special because they're one of the few marine mammals or cetaceans that can actually move their neck around, so they can nod their head, or they can even pop out of the water, pop their head out of the water in the holes that are in the ice, and take a peek around to see if there's any predators or anything out there. And why are belugas white?
Belugas have this white color because help themselves to camouflage. As I said before, they live in North Pole and we have a lot of ice around. So have this white color is helping them to hide themselves. If we speak about our little Tilu, we are very lucky to have it with us. We learn a lot from him. We learn a lot about communication between belugas and how the babies develop this communication. We have different research programs going on to understand what is happening with this communication, and we hope that we can help the communities that we have in natural environment with all this information.
So you see the head of the beluga here is like a huge marshmallow, and it is really useful. You can see that it bounces and moves around. This big or huge forehead is called a melon, and it's what belugas use for navigation underwater. They actually do something called echolocalization, which basically is the same thing that bats do. With that huge forehead, they produce a sound that travels through the water and then bounces against any obstacles and then comes back as an echo. What they do is they listen to that echo, and that way they can navigate. So they don't need much visibility. The water can be really turbid, or even it can be nighttime, so there could be no light. So they'll manage to swim around without crashing into any obstacles. And this is something that they do, and it's something that we've been learning from. Belugas right now face a lot of different challenges, and one of them in the Arctic is acoustic pollution. All the noise that is going on right now in the Arctic because of climate change, it's threatening their lives. Due to climate change, the ice in the Arctic is melting, which means that there is more space, or it's easier for boats to travel around. So with an increase in boat traffic, these animals are going to have more noise happening around their environment, and that means that they're going to have it harder. So here in Oceanographic, we allow these animals to be ambassadors from their own species, not only belugas, but turtles, sharks, rays, and all other animals. And learning more about these animals that we have here living with us and as part of our family, we also can help other individuals from the same species around the world. Well, I hope you enjoy watching our belugas and have realized how special bond they have with their trainer. And we can see if you have any questions to ask us, and we can help or try to figure out the answer or help you answer those questions. So let's move to an area with more light. You can see our beautiful faces, even though we're wearing masks, and we can try to answer any questions that have come along the way. We hope that you enjoy this little bit of time with us, and we apologize for not having enough time. As we said before, visiting the Oceanographic will take you an entire day. But let's see what questions we have.
Great, and we have quite a few that have come in, but first of all, everyone's just saying how cute the belugas are, so everyone really enjoyed that. The top question right now is, how come the large sharks don't eat the fish that are swimming around so close to them?
Okay, let me just say that, are you hearing those noises and whistles around? Those sounds are the belugas that are whistling around. So we just want to apologize, because actually they're called the canaries of the sea because of this writing. And about the questions, why sharks don't eat the other fish that are around them? Well, basically because animals, sharks or any other kind of animal, they only eat when they are hungry. And what we do with our sharks is that we give them enough food. We offer them food almost every day, 5 days a week, and they eat whenever they're hungry. So because they're always full, they don't need to eat other fish around. They're just basically like that. Most people think that sharks are these terrifying animals that just eat everything they find around. Actually, it's the most opposite thing to that. They only look for food when they're hungry, and the rest of the time they just want more fish, just a little bit bigger or maybe a little bit scarier due to cultural things that we have created around them.
I think it's because the film of Joe. But
Yeah.
no, they follow also from the beginning of their life, the aquarists teach them to eat in a different point of the facility, so it helps them to know when they are being fed. So that's helping too.
Great. And then a question about the whales. Someone wants to know, is it rare for whales to reproduce in captivity?
Okay, that's a great question because first of all, belugas are more related to dolphins than they are related to other almost type of whales. They're open their mouth. You see that they have teeth inside their mouth, like dolphins, porpoises, orcas. So they go into like the separate group. This is a bit confusing because cetaceans are split up into big groups. One that have teeth and another one that have a limb. So belugas will be more into the dolphin group. And
yes, here we are the first aquarium in Europe having belugas, and we are very proud of our family because the reproduction was natural and spontaneous. But if you travel to Canada or United States, they have more centers with belugas, but here in Europe we are the only to have belugas.
so it's actually pretty awesome because around summertime is when courtship happens. And here Kilu came to the world in completely natural situation. So if you come to Valencia, I do recommend to visit the Oceanogràfic around summertime because you can actually see Cairo courting Yulka. So they're swimming around in a special different way that they don't do on the rest of the year. And this is because everything has happened completely natural. They're comfortable enough and they're well enough to just reproduce and breed on a natural way.
That's great. And then some more questions about the belugas coming in. So someone wants to know if the belugas recognize their trainers and if the whales have if each one has a personality.
Yes, definitely. They know who is who. All the trainers are in relation with the whole family, but it's true that some trainers spend more time with some animals than the other. They're gonna create a really special bond between them. They know perfectly who is who, and of course they have their own character. It's like human, if I can say that. The more we have one more scary, for example, Kilo is a really playful boy. So yes, they have different characters.
Great. And then the next question is about your education programs and conservation. So someone wants to know a little more about your education programs, but also how you're making sure that it's a good environment for the animals that are in captivity there.
Oh, that's an awesome question. So to make sure the animals are in a good environment, we actually have a committee that collaborates with us. They don't belong to the Oceanogràfic. They actually belong to the university in Barcelona. So they are from the outside and they come here and they monitor the well-being of the animals. The cool thing about this committee is that anyone that works here can come along with any questions or doubts they have, like, oh, I think this animal maybe needs a little bit of stimuli or it's not doing well, and they will take it and they evaluate the situation and will try to do their best possible to help these animals feel better. We do have different projects that help to do this. For example, we have environmental enrichment programs where we stimulate these animals not only physically but also mentally, and that way we keep them curious and we make every day different. So there's actually no routine. They don't eat at the same time. They don't eat on a specific time of the day or things like that. So the way that we make their environment, even though when you come around and you see something that looks just like one still picture, we try to make it more active and more changing, and that helps the well-being of these animals.
And also I have to say that Oceanogràfic is one of the only aquariums to have ASA accreditation, Association of Zoos and Aquarium. It's the highest accreditation in animal welfare, so we are very proud of that.
Amazing. On a more personal note, someone wants to know, what is each of your favorite animals in the aquarium?
Good question.
Okay, that's a good question. That's a really difficult question because here we have a run of many different animals, many different species. All of them are amazing. But for me, for example, I'm sorry, but I prefer dolphins. Dolphins are my favorite.
And I do like sharks a lot. I feel that somehow they have suffered a lot from that wrong image that we have created from them. And here we have one species of shark, the Port Jackson shark. They live in Australia. And the cool thing that they do is they lay eggs. So they lay an egg and it sort of has like the shape of a screw. And what they do is once they put it, the mom or the shark, the female shark, grabs it with her mouth and then she puts it inside holes in crevices. So here we find eggs laying around inside holes. And that's a way or something they have developed for survival. I think that for me, sharks are maybe my weak link or my weak point, but I do enjoy them. And we hope that everyone that comes around here leaves the Oceanographic with a different mindset of sharks and of belugas and maybe learning more about all the things that we have showed you today with a little bit more knowledge. You can learn to appreciate them, to love them, and therefore you can also help to protect and conserve all these species because at the end, that's one of the main things that we try to do here.
Amazing. And this is probably a similar question, but someone wants to know what each of your favorite parts is of Oceanographic that we didn't get to visit today.
So for me, it's the tropical enclosure that we have here. We have animals from the Indo-Pacific, but we also have animals from the Caribbean. And one really cool thing that we have that probably not all aquariums have is that we have an entire tank with coral, with alive corals, with real sunlight, and they're all there alive growing. Most people don't appreciate that much. But once you see all the hard work, the care, and the love it takes from the biologists that are taking care of them, then maybe you'll appreciate it a little bit better. And then all the fish that live in the tropics, they tend to be more colorful, and the reefs are really complex environments. So it's a facility that's really alive, and there's all these things going on.
And as I said before, I like sharks. I like sandbar sharks because the color of the skin, but my favorites are dolphins. If you come to visit us, you can see our dolphin exhibition. Nowadays we have 3 per day, and you can see the connection between trainers and dolphins. And you can see the amazing jumps that they do, but on top of all, you can see this connection, this special bonding between their trainers and the animal, and for me that's amazing.
Great. And then on the topic of sharks, someone wants to know, what is the biggest shark that you have?
So the biggest shark that we have, we saw it already, is the sand tiger shark. They get around 3 meters long. Also, we have another animal, the sawfish, which is this really long fish that looks sort of like a shark with a saw on the top of its face. Most people that come here think that that's a shark, but it's not. That will be the biggest animal we have with the shark, but it's not actually a shark. It's more a benthic animal, so it's more closer to rays than to sharks. But the ones that we saw that were swimming on the top, that they had like this grumpy face and a little hump on the top of their head, the sand tiger sharks are the biggest sharks that we have.
This impressive mouth with a lot of row of teeth. This is the sand tiger shark.
Great. And then a few more questions have come in about the belugas. So Jordana wants to know how many belugas are left in the world.
So how many belugas are left in the world? Right now, I wouldn't be able to tell you the answer. It's a good question, but we will need to look up for it. We do know that belugas are not critically endangered, except one population in the entire world, the Saint Laurent population that is in Canada. Those are the ones that are most threatened. What happens with belugas and cetaceans is that they're really social animals, so they live in pods or small groups, and they're all sort of like separated around the world. And this specific population is the one that is really threatened, but I wouldn't be able to tell you how many belugas are left there. I'm sorry.
We don't know exactly the number, but we can say the beluga population is decreasing because then noise pollution, the plastic pollution, the uncontrolled develop coastal environment. So we don't know the number. I'm sorry, we have to look for that.
No worries. Another beluga question from Julie, who wants to know, do the beluga trainers go in the water with the whales?
Yes, Julie. The trainers do go in the water. The water is a little bit cold, so it's between 10 and 12 degrees Celsius. So as you saw before, they wear a wetsuit, a 7 mil wetsuit, and they do get in the water, but it's not something really common. And usually when they do get in the water, it's mostly for maintenance, so to cleaning around and fixing things and sort of that kind of thing. So usually when the trainers are in the water, the belugas are moved to another area. So what we saw before, it's not all the space they have. They actually have more space in the back. And what we do is that most of the time when the trainers go in the water, the belugas are put somewhere else. So they're actually not in the water at the same time most of the time. They do get in the water sometimes. As you saw, they have a super special bond. They get along really well. As Mel said, they also have favorites, so they get along better with one or another. But it's not something that happens every day.
But the answer is yes. They are allowed to go with the belugas in the water, and they can do it any session that they want, and they can do it in any moment during the day. So yes, they are really special bond, and any problem with that.
Great. And then Alicia wants you to remind her what each of the belugas' names are, and then how old the mom and the cub are.
No problem. So Alicia, we have 3 belugas. The oldest one is Cairo, Kairo, and he is the father of the family. He is 56 years old, 5'6". Then we have Yulka, the mom of the family. Yulka is actually spelled Yulka, and she's 24 years old, so she's the mom of the family. And then Kilu, it's almost 4 years old. Next November, mid-November, he turns 4. And the cool thing about his name is that it's actually
That's a really good story.
It's actually made out of the name of his parents. So you got the K from Cairo, you got the Y from Yulka, and then you got the LU from Luna. Luna is moon in Spanish, and this is because Kilu, almost 4 years ago, he was born on that day. I don't know if you guys remember, that day we had a super moon. So to honor that little event and that Kilu was born on that day, we included Moon or Luna in his name. So that's why he's called Kilu.
Great. And then we're on to the last few questions. So if anyone has any final questions, be sure to put them in now. But the next question is asking if you can tell one more time what the difference is between the male and female sharks.
So the difference between males and females is really easy, is the claspers. So if you look into the shark, you'll see that they have 2 pelvic fins that are right before their tail. And you have those fins. If you only have the fins, that will be a female. So from the bottom, you would only see those fins and that's it. But if it was a male, you have the 2 fins and then you have 2 little sort of like fingers or like little tubes coming out. These tubes are called claspers. Basically, that is the genitalia or the reproductive organ of the shark. And that's what they use to just put the semen or inseminate the female.
So if you are in the tunnel, you can look around. If you see claspers, it's a male. If you don't see it, it's a female.
And it is a cool rule because it not only works for sharks, but it also works for snakes, for mantas, and for rays. So all these animals that belong to a bigger group and they're all together, they all have cartilage bones. They are soft bone animals. We'll follow that rule with the claspers.
Great. A question from Daniela about visiting, specifically asking if visitors can touch the glass or if you discourage that for the aquariums.
So right now we discourage the visitors to touch the glasses. Actually, right after the lockdown, we have come back with a bunch of different new rules. So for example, for coming to the park, everyone has to wear a face mask. And right now we're not allowing people to touch the glasses because we cannot between the glasses, between each person. So we disencourage that. But on normal situations, if you had come a year ago, you would be able to touch as long as you don't bang it or you do other things. You're allowed to be right next to the glass and it will be no problem.
Great. And then the last question, which is a little on a similar topic. If you have seen any changes in the behavior of the animals with less visitors during the lockdown period?
I don't know if we can say that, but I think no, because the animals have their teams around. Like always during this pandemic, the biologist team come every day, the aquarists, the trainers, the veterinarian, all of them are taking care of this animal every day. So I think for them, nothing changed because they continue to be fed. They have enrichment programs around like always. So I don't think the behavior is changing, but I'm sure that the animal welfare committee, as Christine said before, they are studying all of that in that moment.
Yeah, I would say that the behavior changes more along the day or around their mood or even with their personalities. For example, Yulka, the mom, somehow she has this fascination for babies. So you could be around, but then if somebody comes with a little trolley or a little car with a baby and it's near the glass, she would come around and interact with that baby. So I wouldn't say they have changed at all with the number of visitors. They do change along the day or with what type of visitors. Sometimes you come with a really bright yellow shirt and they'll see you and they'll just come by to say hi and interact with you. But other than that, they are just exactly the same and as cool and chill as they are usually.
Amazing. So that was our last question for today. Lots of people saying how much that they enjoyed this visit and how knowledgeable both of you were. A reminder that this virtual experience is part of the Tiqets Awakening Weeks. So if you're in Spain, go and visit the Oceanogràfic in person. No matter where you are, you can find more activities to do online and in person at the Tiqets Awakening Weeks site at tiqets.com/blog/awakening weeks. And thank you again so much to the Oceanogràfic, to both of you for joining and hosting us. We really look forward to finding more ways to experience culture with you again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.